Have you ever wondered what happens when rap beef crosses the line from lyrics to violence? In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to take you through 5 chilling cases where diss tracks didn't just end careers, they ended lives. The most shocking part? One rapper was shot 38 times after mocking dead gang members, and police allegedly stood by watching him bleed out. That story and other disturbing details are coming up. Hip-hop has always been competitive, with artists battling through lyrics and flows. But what separates a typical rap beef from one that turns deadly? The answer might surprise you, and it reveals something profound about the thin line between art and real-life consequences in street culture. Let me take you through 5 tragic cases where rap lyrics became death sentences. Stories that should make every aspiring artist think twice about the words they put on wax. The DMV area, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia for those unfamiliar, has produced some of the most ruthless street figures in recent memory. Among them stood OG ManMan, not just a product of the trenches, but, as many would say, the embodiment of them. ManMan wasn't primarily known as a rapper. His reputation came from being what locals called a certified hitter, someone always ready for violence, always posted on the block, always up to raise the score against rivals. His street credibility was unquestioned until a friendship-turned rivalry with rapper Big Flock set in motion a chain of events that would end in tragedy. Now you might be wondering, what could possibly turn close allies into deadly enemies? It started with something depressingly common, a woman. Big Flock, born Charles Ulysses Bowman, was a Maryland rapper who'd overcome significant hardship. With his father incarcerated, he was raised by his grandparents. When his grandfather passed away, Flock found himself drawn deeper into street life. By age 11, he was already writing rhymes, initially recording on tape before realizing music might be his escape from the hood. But here's where things get interesting, and where our first pattern interrupt comes in. Did you know that most rap beefs that turn deadly aren't just about the music or even street credibility? They typically involve a personal betrayal that transforms professional rivalry into something much more dangerous. In OG ManMan's case, that betrayal came when he reportedly slept with Big Flock's girlfriend while maintaining their friendship. When Flock discovered this violation of trust, he responded the way many rappers do, through music. On his debut album, Glockism, Flock included a track called Intro with lyrics directly aimed at ManMan. A man turned to informant, thought that he was real, he put on a good performance. This wasn't just a personal jab. By calling ManMan an informant while he was in prison, Flock essentially painted a target on his back. In gang culture, being labeled a rat is often considered worse than any other accusation. When ManMan was released from prison, revenge was inevitable. He responded with what DJ Academics would later describe as one of the most demonic songs he'd ever heard, a track simply titled Truth. The video for this diss track crossed every conceivable line. ManMan filmed himself at the grave of Flock's close friend, C. Diddy, who had previously died under disputed circumstances. While standing on sacred ground, ManMan flashed weapons, poured out expensive liquor, and even burned photos of the deceased. He incorporated news footage of C. Diddy's death and mocked the way he reportedly died by falling from a building. Some of the lyrics were equally disturbing. I know why you mad, 'cause I'm your censored. Stop playing with me, talking about I'm snitching. Rest in peace to Lee Chris. Yeah, I know they censored miss him. Don't trip, his whole squad G to lay there with them. The track went viral, but ManMan wouldn't live long enough to capitalize on his newfound notoriety. On June 12, 2016, OG ManMan received a call inviting him to a cookout in Southeast DC. When he arrived, someone approached him and, without exchanging words, fired multiple shots, killing him instantly. While police never officially charged anyone with the murder, suspicion immediately fell on Big Flock. When authorities raided Flock's home, they discovered an arsenal of weapons and narcotics. Unable to connect him directly to ManMan's death, prosecutors instead charged him with illegal firearm and drug possession. Flock accepted a plea deal, resulting in 45 months of jail time. And the woman who allegedly sparked this deadly feud? She moved on long before the bullets stopped flying. Think about that for a moment. 2 lives essentially ruined, one ended, one imprisoned, over temporary relationships and wounded pride. But this pattern repeats itself throughout hip-hop history, And our next story demonstrates how quickly these situations can escalate. Before NBA YoungBoy became one of the most streamed artists in America, he was just another young man trying to survive the brutal streets of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What many of his fans don't realize is that his rise to stardom came at the expense of former mentor G Money, and the catalyst for their deadly falling out involved YoungBoy's own sister. Baton Rouge isn't just another southern city. It's consistently ranked among America's most dangerous urban areas. Growing up there means navigating gang territories, witnessing violence firsthand, and often being forced to choose sides at a young age. In this challenging environment, G Money, whose real name was Garrett Burton, took a younger NBA YoungBoy under his wing. Being 4 years older, G Money showed YoungBoy the ropes both on the streets and in music. They performed together under the group name TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, creating a brotherhood that seemed unbreakable. So what went wrong? What could possibly turn a mentor-protege relationship into a deadly rivalry? The answer might shock you. It started when G Money became romantically involved with YoungBoy's sister, Telly. Now here's something fascinating about hip-hop beef that most casual fans don't understand. While the diss tracks and public feuds get all the attention, it's often the private, personal violations that truly spark the violence. When business and family mix in street culture, the results can be explosive. Initially, YoungBoy didn't seem bothered by G Money's relationship with his sister. However, as YoungBoy's star began to rise and he established his own label, Never Broke Again, NBA, tensions between the former friends grew increasingly strained. By August 2017, their relationship had deteriorated beyond repair. In an interview with Say Cheese TV, G Money revealed they would never collaborate musically again, publicly acknowledging that YoungBoy remained angry about his involvement with Telly. This interview proved to be the first domino in a tragic sequence. Shortly after, G Money released a track called Industry, with lyrics directly targeting YoungBoy and his sister. "All you is lame, sneak dissing on them songs. I don't do it for the fame. See, you should be ashamed. I put a 30 up under my pistol. Your sister swallowed nuts, so I never kissed her. But I with her, so I never dissed her." The social media war that followed only intensified the NBA versus TBG rivalry. Less than a month after releasing Industry, G Money was gunned down outside his Baton Rouge studio on Dallas Drive. While authorities never charged NBA YoungBoy directly with the murder, they did arrest his associate, 26-year-old DeAndre Fields, known as Lil Pap. The evidence against Fields was substantial. His phone records placed him in Baton Rouge at the time of the murder, despite his claims to be elsewhere. And shell casings at the scene matched those found on Jefferson Avenue, where Fields allegedly disposed of the weapon. Initially charged with second-degree murder, Fields eventually accepted a plea deal for a lesser charge of accessory after the fact. He received a 5-year sentence, served concurrently with a 3-year federal weapons charge. But here's the question that continues to haunt Baton Rouge. Did NBA YoungBoy order the hit? The courts never established this connection, but in the court of public opinion, many believe the rising star orchestrated G Money's death. Just when you think rap beef couldn't get more dangerous, our next story takes us to Chicago, where diss tracks targeting deceased gang members created one of the most shocking murder cases in recent hip-hop history. Let me ask you something. Would you mock dead gang members in a song if you knew there was a $100,000 bounty on your head? That's exactly what Chicago rapper FBG Duck did with his track Dead Bitches, and he paid for it with his life just 3 weeks later. Chicago's South Side isn't just dangerous, it's practically a war zone. Two major gang factions, O Block and STL, EBT, have been locked in a deadly conflict for decades, with their rivalry intensified by the rise of drill music. This distinctive Chicago rap style often features explicit threats against real-life enemies and disrespectful references to deceased rivals. FBG Duck, born Carlton Weekly on December 6, 1993, grew up in this environment with 7 siblings, many of whom were involved in street life. While Duck initially wanted to avoid gang violence, the murder of his older brother Brick pulled him deeper into the conflict. Duck's introduction to O Block member King Von set the stage for a personal rivalry that would eventually contribute to his death. After discovering Von had befriended him only to gather intelligence on STL members, Duck and his associates reportedly attacked Von on a bus. This incident intensified Von's hatred for Duck and further inflamed tensions between their respective gangs. As Duck's rap career began taking shape, the feud between O'Block, associated with Glory Boys Entertainment and Only the Family, and STLEBT, represented by Flyboy Gang, spilled into their music. Chief Keef, the leader of GBE, frequently dissed Duck's gang in songs, prompting retaliatory tracks from Duck and other FBG members. In 2017, Duck achieved his commercial breakthrough with the gold-certified single Slide. This success led to a record deal with Sony, and perhaps sensing the potential for a more substantial career, Duck attempted several times to make peace with his rivals. But here's where the story takes its tragic turn. King Von and Lil Durk refused to entertain Duck's peace offerings, continuing to diss him and deceased STL members in their songs. Frustrated by their rejection and perhaps feeling he had no choice but to respond, Duck released Dead B** in July 2020, a track that would seal his fate. The song wasn't just provocative, it was suicidal. Duck explicitly mocked deceased Black Disciples members, including T-Roy, OD, J-Money, Lil Boo, and Sheroid. Said I wasn't going to diss the dead, and okay, I did it. But T-Roy and OD them dead censored y'all heard about. J-Money is getting dead the same way. The reaction was swift and deadly. The Black Disciples allegedly placed a $50,000 bounty on Duck's head, later increasing it to $100,000 when he remained alive. Seemingly aware of the danger, Duck posted a video 2 weeks before his death discussing the unwritten rule about not targeting gang members when they're with their children. I've got 4 kids, 3 boys and 1 girl, and if I catch a censored with his daughter, I'm going to give him a pass because that's the heart of me, and because I don't want them to take me in front of my kids. Those words proved prophetic. On August 4th, 2020, at 4:26 p.m., 4 gunmen from 2 separate vehicles ambushed Duck while he was shopping with his girlfriend in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. They fired 38 shots, hitting him in the neck, chest, and groin. What happened next has become a source of controversy and outrage. According to witnesses, police officers at the scene allegedly neglected to apply pressure to Duck's wounds or perform CPR, instead allowing him to bleed out for approximately 20 minutes until paramedics arrived. By then, he had lost too much blood to survive. After an initial surgery, he was pronounced dead. In a disturbing epilogue to this tragedy, rival rapper and Black Disciples member 600 Breezy released Stop Playing, a track mocking Duck's death with lyrics like, "Dead on that censored block, this song's going to get you shot, next time yours in the box." 6 months later, Duck's friend BCR Measle was also killed. Federal authorities eventually arrested 6 O'Block members for Duck's murder. All received mandatory life sentences, a rare example of justice in Chicago's often unsolved gang killings. But even the most infamous rap murder of all time remains shrouded in mystery, despite happening in full public view over 25 years ago. I'm talking, of course, about Tupac Shakur. Now, I know what you're thinking. Was Tupac Shakur really killed because of a diss track? While conspiracy theories about his murder have persisted for decades, there's compelling evidence that Hit 'Em Up, arguably the most vicious diss record in hip-hop history, played a significant role in the events leading to his death. Released in June 1996, just 3 months before his murder, Hit 'Em Up wasn't merely a song. It was a declaration of war against the entire East Coast hip-hop establishment, particularly Bad Boy Records. The track opens with one of the most infamous lines in rap history. First off, censored you're censored, and the click you claim. West Side when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I censored your wife. We bust on bad boys, censored for life. Throughout the song, Tupac targeted Biggie Smalls, Sean Puffy Combs, Chino XL, Lil Kim, Junior Mafia, Lil Caesar, and essentially everyone associated with Bad Boy Records. But what made Hit 'Em Up particularly dangerous wasn't just its lyrical content, it was the authentic rage behind Tupac's delivery. This wasn't theatrical beef, it was personal. The roots of this animosity trace back to November 30th, 1994, when Tupac was shot 5 times in the lobby of Quad Recording Studios in New York. Though he survived, Pac became convinced that Biggie and Puffy had orchestrated the attack, despite their denials. This incident transformed what had been a competitive rivalry into a blood feud, eventually engulfing the entire hip-hop community in the infamous East Coast-West Coast War. What many casual observers miss about Tupac's situation is that his involvement with Death Row Records potentially connected him to genuine gang activity. According to the 2018 documentary Death Row Chronicles, Tupac wasn't just affiliated with the Bloods through his label boss, Suge Knight. He may have been an actual member. If true, this would mean Tupac wasn't merely a gangster rapper, but an active participant in one of America's most violent street organizations. This context adds a crucial dimension to understanding his murder. On September 7, 1996, following a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas, Tupac and his entourage spotted Orlando Anderson, a known Crips gang member, in the MGM Grand Lobby. Surveillance footage captured Tupac and his associates assaulting Anderson, an action that some believe sealed his fate. Hours later, as Tupac and Suge Knight were stopped at a red light on East Flamingo Road, a white Cadillac pulled alongside them. A gunman emerged from the vehicle and fired multiple shots into their BMW. Tupac was hit 4 times and died 6 days later from his injuries. While no one was ever convicted for Tupac's murder, many investigators believe Anderson was the shooter, retaliating for the earlier assault. Anderson himself was killed in an unrelated shooting in 1998, taking any definitive answers with him. The question remains, would Tupac have been targeted if Hit 'Em Up hadn't escalated tensions to such dangerous levels? We'll never know for certain, but the timing suggests the diss track contributed significantly to the climate of violence that ultimately claimed his life. This pattern of diss tracks preceding violence continues with our final story, a tragic tale of a teenage rapper who challenged the wrong opponent in Chicago's deadly drill scene. As we've seen through these 5 tragic stories, the line between artistic expression and genuine threats in hip-hop can become dangerously blurred. What begins as lyrical competition often spills into real-world violence, especially when artists are deeply embedded in street life. OG ManMan, G-Money, FBG Duck, Tupac Shakur, and Lil Jojo. 5 different personalities from different regions. Yet their stories follow disturbingly similar patterns. Each used their music to escalate existing conflicts, each crossed boundaries that went beyond artistic expression, and each paid the ultimate price. These cases raise profound questions about artistic responsibility, the glorification of violence, and the complex relationship between hip-hop and the communities that birth it. When rappers with authentic street ties incorporate real-life beefs into their music, they're not just creating entertainment, they're potentially signing their own death warrants. For aspiring artists from challenging environments, these stories offer a sobering lesson. Fame acquired through manufactured beef comes with deadly risks. The temporary attention gained from a viral diss track isn't worth the permanent consequences that might follow. Yet there's another dimension to consider. Many of these artists grew up in environments where violence wasn't a choice, but a survival mechanism. Their music reflects realities they didn't create but were born into. Systemic issues like poverty, institutional racism, and limited opportunities that continue to plague urban communities across America. While diss tracks may have been the spark that ignited these tragedies, the underlying conditions that made them possible existed long before any lyrics were written. Understanding this broader context doesn't excuse the violence, but it helps explain why these cycles continue despite their devastating consequences. As listeners and fans, we bear some responsibility too. Our consumption and celebration of increasingly extreme diss tracks contribute to an environment where artists feel pressured to prove their authenticity through escalating provocations. By glorifying the most outrageous disses, we become unwitting participants in a dangerous game. The next time you hear a rapper threatening specific rivals by name or mocking deceased individuals, remember these 5 stories. What sounds like entertaining bravado through your speakers might be setting deadly events in motion in the real world. The greatest tragedy in all these cases isn't just the loss of talented young lives. It's how preventable these deaths could have been if artistic expression had remained just that, art, not declarations of war. Until the culture values creativity over confrontation, these won't be the last stories of their kind. What do you think? Is there a way to preserve the competitive spirit of hip-hop without the deadly consequences we've seen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive informative, make sure to like and subscribe for more content that explores the hidden stories behind the music we love.